Hello, this is Cryptolyze. I hope you are well. On this Monday, October 9, 2023, we meet today to talk about SOL, Solana's crypto. As usual, we will dissect this video into two parts. A fundamental part, we will come back to what Solana is, its news, and a technical part. We will project ourselves in the short, medium, long term on purchase prices, selling prices, and that starts right away. Solana is a level 1 blockchain, that is to say, an infrastructure blockchain which aims to provide developers with functional blocks to be able to build decentralized applications. This is the principle of all infrastructure blockchains. The specificity of Solana is to be a blockchain which is monolithic. That means which manages absolutely everything itself and which invented the notion of proof of story. The principle of proof of story is not having to validate transactions with all existing transactions, but being able to validate transactions with only a certain number of days of transactions implied, 2 to 3 days, to be able to validate whether the transaction is good or not, which allows it to have a scalability which is really very important, very low cost, in which we have 0.25, therefore something which is really very weak, with behind a decentralization, which is rather okay for a new project with almost 2,000 validator nodes. So we are rather correct, and it is an offset proof in which we have a notion of zero net carbon impact because they compensate for the carbon that they spend on their side. Next to Solana, it is a blockchain with a very large community. It is a blockchain which is not EVM compatible, in any case, which was not until so long. We will talk about it in a short time, but you have to understand that they managed to attract a lot of developers in a very large community, while overall, their development kit offered lots of things, but no solidity and no compatible EVM. So we are really in a blockchain that has managed to create its own community. And now with Solana, they are offering the possibility of being able to port solid applications directly to Ethereum. So overall, there is everything to be able to progress. Ethereum next to it is also NFTs because it is the second blockchain after Ethereum, but sometimes ahead of Ethereum, it depends on the creation and minting of NFTs. And to go further, they are in the process of launching a compression solution allowing them to mint a lot of NFTs at very low cost. There they made the comparison between Solana to today, the version of Solana with the compression of NFTs, and overall, for example, Polygon. We are not going to talk about Ethereum, but we are going to talk about Polygon. We see that to mint 100 million NFTs, it would only cost $1,100 versus $3 million if we went only through Polygon with their usual solution. So we are really in a process where compression allows us to earn fees very quickly, depending on the number of NFTs we mint. There we see that on 1,000 NFT, we are on Solana, more expensive than Polygon. On the other hand, as soon as we move to 10,000, we are directly below, and we see that it really progresses very little. And when we go to look for 1 billion minted NFTs, we are only at $10,000 in fees versus more than 30 million if we ever play the game. So these are really real solutions for companies for the use of the technology of blockchain and simplification and cost management, because it is obvious that if we build a solution as a company on NFTs, it is imperative that the cost of producing NFTs is excessively low. Solana allows you to do this. Alongside Solana, we attacked the mobile market with the Saga. Was it a success? Absolutely not. But in any case, it was a first step towards this notion with the importance and to underline the importance of the mobile stack, implying the capacity to be able to develop applications for mobile on the blockchain and on the Web3. It is essential that the interface and use of the blockchain be done on mobile phones because we have a very strong convergence at the level of use of these devices, and mass adoption will necessarily occur through inclusion of Web3 in mobiles. If this is not done, we will not get out of this. We will never have mass adoption, that is certain. That's why Solana, for me, has a special respect because they dared to launch into it, and I think it's not over. I think this is a first try. We will certainly have other things through either OS or potentially new phones to be able to evolve on this side, and that is essential. We are going to finish in the fundamental part. We're going to attack the technical part in which we have something quite classic. We find the accumulation before bull run, in which then we had first acceleration, second acceleration, and we have the cheerful waves of autistic to end here, the fifth wave in November 2021, and a rather classic ABC retracement. So here we really have a really normal approach in terms of this type of project with an ATH of $260. While I remind you, Solana was not EVM compatible. Okay, so we had to develop mainly smart contracts in Russian, which is very complicated. And despite that, we still had a very strong advent of the economy and the ecosystem of Solana. Since the breakout that we experienced in June with Terra Luna and Celsius in June 2022, we find ourselves in a lateralization zone, which quite simply allows us to consolidate what we call the sign of weakness. C. This is a consolidation of Wyckoff, which is in the process of refirming itself since we had the breakout of FTX. As a reminder, FTX had a lot of ground, and it was FTX which had made it possible, in fact, which was the VC behind it. So the venture capital, which was behind Solana, and which allowed Solana to really explode, and therefore there obviously, when we had FTX, which filed for bankruptcy, to say the least, we had a very strong bearish break and a complexity to be able to recover. Although we had a first acceleration, and then we see that we always consolidates, in fact, in a retest of the level before FTX. We try to retest the most $30 to be able to pass, and ideally, really, it is at the bar of $26, which is really complicated to pass. And we see that we are working on it systematically, and we are systematically rejected. This is one of the reasons why I strongly think that we are going to retest the $26 and then retest the lower parts in the 15, or even why not go below the 12 if we ever have a crypto market, which is much more complicated than expected on, in particular, the Quo in 2024. That's a bit my outlook. So for me, we are in a classic lateralization phase and a construction phase. There has always been the building house, which took place in Berlin, in which we still had quite a few people and many beautiful projects which were carried out, launched. So we still have very strong support at the Solana level. And we are at a price level which is relatively interesting. We just have to wait if we ever have a retracement and we want to reload on this type of assets. What can we envision as a follow-up to Solana? Already 3 things before we can talk about target. 1, it is imperative that we have a Solana that continues to appeal. We must have the incentive to be able to make developers want to come and build on Solana, and that behind it, we have support. From the use of Solana in various sectors, Solana has managed to specialize in NFT, and it works very, very well. See how they will manage to do it in the next cycle. However, we could initially aim for $140 here for an exit here from this work zone, which can classic. Many people are stuck with an average purchase price between $150 and $125. So I think that there will be a reduction in the ring here, and then we can go and retest at least. For me, $260 seems completely coherent to me on a Solana in which we will have continuity in all cases of building their ecosystem as long as they continue in this way. Then we could project ourselves onto much bigger developments with a wave of Eliotists to potentially look for the 1,618 here, golden number with a Solana at 400 minus $425. On an end of bull run, with an end of liquidity and a Solana ecosystem which continues to grow and grow, of course. I hope you liked this video. If so, leave me a comment, a like. It always makes me very happy. And we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. for the daily news, the analysis of BTC and the macro. Tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock.